So I'm still learning how to do this YouTube, but this is part 2 of the pool system filters that I'm changing for this pool here. And now that the system is depressurized, I've let all the air out of this right here. As you can see, is down to 0. And so the next step would be, you want to drain it. It's a little bit difficult to get off. You have to give it a little. So I have to drain this plug. It looks like it should come off a lot easier. I'm just as you can see, I'm gonna have to get a little probably a big wrench or something. So let me try to do that. I'm gonna pause this for a second here. Alright, so I was able to do it with my hand. So it looks like you have to go counterclockwise and open it up and let the water out. And that way you can clean the components when you put the new filters back. There it is. So that's going to drain for a while. We're going to let that drain. And we're going to come back. And we're going to take off the belt here and pull the filters out. So stay tuned for the next phase. You want to actually clean the inside of this too, by the way. See, this comes apart like that. Make sure the O-ring is in good shape, because you will have instances where it may leak a little, and it may be time to change the little ring around here, the little rubber ring. Alright, we'll be right back. Alright, so now I have loosened this already, but as you can see, you can use a standard size crescent wrench to get this off. And you just unscrew it and you just pull it out like that. Well, it fell down, but it's fairly simple to get off. And you just loosen this band here, and be careful while you take it off that you don't want to bend the hinges where it's warp. And so we're going to take that off here. All you got to do is just pull it. It's kind of stuck on there for a little bit. Woo! That wasn't good, but you get the idea. You may have to take a rubber hammer and tap it a little bit, and then we'll pull this off, this cover. You actually have to take these handles on each side level and raise it up. Let me see if I can get this camera focus a bit on here as we do this. And you just pick it up like that. See? Got it off. And as you can see here, here's the filters, and look how dirty that is. Look at that. That's all the pebble sheen. And you know, I've cleaned these on several occasions, but it's just time to replace. And this is how you know that. Look how dirty that is. See if I can get it to focus. You can kind of see. All that sand and so forth. And so we're going to pull this off the top here. And you can kind of tell when they're dirty. It'll tell you. And then also, it'll tell you when on the meter how dirty it is. And so you can feel the grit coming up. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna raise. You gotta be careful. You don't wanna break this because we're not out here to break this equipment. There's so much dirt in here and grime. There we go. So I should have been changed this out. And this is how this piece looks. And you can see how dirty that is. And that's pretty much it for this phase. So you just pull them out, take them out. We're gonna toss these and we're gonna put in the new ones. And I'll come back and show you that in just a moment. All right, in the next phase in here, I've connected the nozzle, as you can see. And we're gonna shoot this out. You wanna shoot all the rocks and stuff out of this area right here. Because what happens is pebbles from the pool get stuck in here. And you can see that. You can kind of see it a little bit. And we're gonna wash that out clean the inside. Make sure that we're not putting dirt and, you know, messing up the new filters that we put back in. We want, you know, it to work properly. And so we're gonna clean all of this out. Even this thing right here. There's a good picture of it. You can see all the I want you to also see on this this rubber seal here how much sand and dirt accumulated on here. Make sure you clean this because you don't want to have any leaks, and that will definitely cause problems with leakage and so forth. And so we're gonna get that washed up real nice and put some lubricant on there and try to see if we can get that to look a lot better. You don't want to put this back on the pressurized system with these rocks and everything, because that's good. You're gonna definitely have to replace this if this dries up and you leave this dirt on here. It's gonna start leaking. So we'll be back with the next phase in just a moment. Okay, as you can see here, I got it nice and clean now, and we are gonna lube this up with some you know, I had this on hand, a little bit of anti-seize. That way it doesn't dry out. Sometimes when you have rubber just sitting like that on water, it tends to dry out. So to give it a little bit more life, we'll try to put that on there so it doesn't get stuck around the thing, and give it a little bit more lifespan. So also in here, I went around in here in the grooves with a toothbrush. That way there's no pebbles stuck in there. Let's see if we can get a good, there he is. And because what happens is those pebbles get stuck in there, and when you screw it back on, it'll start to leak because it's not, you know, flushed with the grooves. And so we're going to start putting the system back together, and throughout the process I'll keep you posted on the next step. Okay, now we're on the filter part where we're inserting these back in. So one thing I want to point out is make sure that when you put in, you see how I accidentally did this? See where it says bottom? Make sure that it's not facing you, because you may run into an issue, or you may not, but you don't want to see the word bottom on here because it's upside down. And so all you have to do is just flip it over and insert it like so. Put those, make sure they're snug, and make sure that that manifold at the bottom is properly aligned. You can pretty much tell if it's not properly aligned. Just follow the grooves and so forth. And now we have them all back in here, and we're going to work on putting the manifold after I get it cleaned up. And I'm going to try to clean this O-ring. One thing I wanted to make note of is that clean these grooves right here with a toothbrush, because if you get pebbles in here, you definitely may have run into an issue where your system starts leaking, because it's creating a flow between the grooves. So you may have a drip. So make sure before you screw it back on, make sure you go around it with a toothbrush, and like so, just like that. And you get all those little pebbles out, because sometimes it tends to flow in that system, and that way, you know, you can prevent any type leaks and so forth. And so now we'll work on cleaning this up and get this back on, and we should be good to go pretty soon. Next thing we have is the belt, and make sure that's cleaned up, and we'll be right back. So we're back here. We got all the filters in, and we're now gonna make sure that this seal right here, this little gasket, is on properly. And you want to put this down as level as possible. And so I'm gonna need two hands to do this with, and so we're gonna put this down. As you can see, we got these down flush. And if you take note of this right here, how it's nice and clean now. There's no more pebbles on it. You see how you got to make sure all of this is all the way down evenly. And so now we're going to strap the belt back on, make sure that's clean. But new filters are in. System's looking good, and we're almost ready to go. Those are your old filters over there, and it's very important that we change these. So now we have this, screwing this back on. Make sure you don't strip it, but you want to get it tight, because this system is going to be pressurized. And make sure that's on properly. As you can see, the bolts in there. You know, there's a certain way that it has to spin in order for it to go on properly. Alright, so guys, we got the belt back on now, and we're going to try to pressurize the system and take it out of service mode and get this going here. And so as the system pressurizes now, you want to pressurize this until it starts filling back up. and until the water starts shooting out, and then you can close the valve. Once the water starts skeeting out, you're going to close the valve. Okay, there we go. And so now it's back on. We got new filters, and we got our pool back in good operating function. And so hopefully you like the video. Please subscribe and tell me what you think.